war chest.
Phil, welcome to Craig's Locker Room.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Okay, Phil, you played for 15 seasons. What was your biggest play in your career?
Biggest play I ever did in my
Yes.
career? You said 15 seasons, Craig?
I believe 15 seasons.
No, you're wrong.
If I'm
It
wrong?
was 19
Okay.
seasons.
19 seasons, okay.
But that's okay. My
Okay.
biggest, my biggest thrill is what you're asking me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I can particularly pick one.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very lucky to have 3 or 4 or 5. I think certainly winning the first Stanley Cup was a huge thrill. Beating the Russians in '72, the first time we had ever played them, and they had trained for, we were told, 3 years to play us, and we trained for 2 weeks. I thought it was terrific that we did that, and that was a big, big thrill.
Was there a certain play or a certain goal? Or
No, because that wasn't very important to me. I was proud. I was very proud of the fact that I was the first guy in the history of the game to score 100 points and 60 goals and 70 goals.
Mm-hmm.
I was very proud of those things. But thrilling? No. Proud, yeah, pride. But not thrilling.
Being on the road, how do your family cope with it?
Yeah, that was difficult. But it was difficult for both of us because I found that I was gone so much that I didn't grow up with my kids, and my kids were sort of just growing up on me. And I'd come home from a road trip, and it looked like they had grown 6 inches already, you know, and things like that really bothered me. But my wife was very, very good about it, and she was terrific, and is terrific, and it hasn't stopped. It's the first year in my whole life since I'm 4 years old that I'm home in the wintertime, so now she wants me to get out.
How does your family adjust to this?
They just cope. They have to adjust. It's my livelihood. It's my job. It's no different than anybody else doing a job. It's what I do and what I do best, so they have to be able to cope with that.
Okay, Phil, you coached and were a general manager at the same time. Is it difficult to do both?
I think probably in New York it is. It's difficult in New York because of you never practice at the Garden. So you practice at Rye, and then I'd have to run into the Garden to do my job as a general manager, and it was a very, very difficult situation in that respect. But I believe that a guy can do both if he's given the opportunity and he has good people around him. See, the sign of a good manager in anything, in any field, is if he has good people around him. And if you can hire good people and they can do the work for you, then you're laughing, you know what I mean?
Which one does Phil Esposito enjoy the most?
Well, I don't enjoy coaching. No, it was too much pressure. And I've had pressure all my life playing. I enjoyed being a general manager, but the most fun I ever had was playing. If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd play again tomorrow like this. I wouldn't hesitate one iota if I could play again.
You're talking about playing now with the baseball players. They have now the senior league.
Right.
Do you feel hockey maybe should get something involved like that?
No, there's not enough buildings. Baseball players, they can go out and they play in the field. Doesn't make any difference. But in hockey, you can't get the stadiums. Very expensive. I mean, we in this area have tremendous trouble getting ice time for the kids. And senior guys go and play. I mean, they would never get any ice time at all.
You kind of think, though, at least for the kids, though, people would be more willing, people that own it would be more willing to help out the kids.
Well, it's a very expensive, building a rink is not as expensive as one might think, but in the meantime, you got to keep it up, the maintenance. And insurance was a real problem, and it's sort of subsided a little bit. It's gotten a lot better now, and so it's not as expensive, and they've allowed you to really have a chance to keep your ice rink going. So In that respect, it's all right.
For the first time in your career, you're not officially part of a hockey team.
Right.
Is it difficult to adjust to this way of life?
Well, yeah, I think so. I get stir crazy. I'm doing dishes, making beds. My wife loves it. But it has been an adjustment. I'd be a liar to say it hasn't. This is the first time since 4 years old now that I haven't, in the wintertime, been either playing, broadcasting, coaching, or GMing. So I've done everything in the sport except for be a trainer and an owner. And I hope someday that I can get somebody out there to back me and we'll buy a team and we'll do well.
With a personnel manager such as yourself, I'm sure if you do
Well,
buy a team, I'm sure they will do well.
There's one thing you got to learn of, Craig, in this world, I think no matter what, is to be a good manager, I believe, is when you hire somebody, you hire him because you expect him to do the job the way you want him set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you let him do his job. You don't interfere.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in some instances, and in sport, there's a tremendous amount of interference. And I'll bet you people that are watching this right now in their business are saying, "Oh yeah, my boss interferes with me and everything else." And we all go through that, I suppose. But it's very difficult to do when you've been an independent sort of dude like I have all my life. I have definite thoughts on how a situation should be handled in the professional sports business anyway, hockey in particular. So maybe it's time that I do find out whether I should own my own team or not.
Do you think for a person to really know the game of hockey that he should play it, he should coach it, he should do all the other things? Like, for example, the late Billy Martin was everything. I mean, and then when he used his expertise to go on the field, he knew what he was doing. Off the field is a different situation. But
that's true. But not necessarily. I think there are a tremendous amount of people that are students of baseball, football, basketball, or hockey, and they know the game fairly well. Yes, there is a distinct advantage to playing it, and there's a distinct advantage to handling it, and that does give me an advantage over the ordinary person that just watch it all the time. But I think the people that watch it are pretty knowledgeable, and they know what they want. Fickle, very fickle.
Especially in the metropolitan area.
Well, New York is fickle, but every place is the same. If you don't win, they like to boo the heck out of you. But that's okay. That's I guess they've got a right to. You know, it goes with the territory.
Of course, everybody, when they play hockey or football, there's always that one opponent who was the toughest, meanest player in their career. Who, and not necessarily the best player in the career, but just that one guy who would trip you with the stick while the refs wasn't looking, maybe belt you across the mouth. Who was that one player?
Well, I don't know whether I can pick one guy. I'll tell you, the guy that hit me the hardest ever was Dennis Potvin. He gave me a cross check of the Islanders. He gave me a cross check in 1979 across the back. I was standing in front of the net. I scored on the play. Just after I had scored, he cross checked me across the back, and I got to tell you, boy, that it was without a doubt. To this day, when I sit here, I can feel the pain. My back was sore for weeks. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to know about it, especially the press, because we were going into the finals. But boy, oh boy, was my back sore. And he hit me the hardest. And I might add, it wasn't a clean check because he really cross-checked me. But I think